What is up, you guys? This is the Hangout. I'm BJ Kicks, your host, and this is the live show we do every Thursday at about 7 p.m. Eastern, and I'm excited to be on it. So, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you. I appreciate it. But if you're watching here live, go ahead and say what's up so I can shout you out. My man Bunkmaster B is here. My man James is here. Uh, I guess is that the chopping block? Is that you cutting comics? And do comics bleed? Do you bleed? That is great. That is great. So yeah, man, if you're here, say what's up in the chat. Real Dope Comics is here. What's good, family? What's good, Real Dope? What should I call you? Should I call you Real Dope? Real or just dope? Are we in competition? Because my brand is Comics Are Dope. I feel like there's infringement there on one of our parts. I joke, I joke. But yeah, man. So today we have a pretty fun show planned. We're winding down. It's the end of the year. This camera angle is going to bug me. Let me straighten it a little bit. All right, there we go. It wasn't pointing straight at me. It was pointing like to the sides when I was looking. Anyway, Jay from Real Dope Comics works for me. What's up, Doug? Good to see you. But yeah, it's the end of the year, so it's time to do all your top 5, top 10 lists and stuff like that. And we are going to get to those. We're going to get to those. If not next week, we'll get to them on the 22nd, which will be the last stream before Christmas. I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to take one of these streams off. Like the 22nd would be the one to take off. But either way, as I prepare to talk about my favorite books of the year, I figured a fun episode would be like the books that I dropped. And I want to know which books, but I want to know which books you dropped this year. What stuff was on your pull list that you were like, you know what? I can do without that book. I've got several, and the thumbnail is probably indication of one of them. Hillbilly's here. What's up, Bryce? What's up? So yeah, and while you guys are here, I would love to know what books you are reading. And speaking of books that you're reading, terrible segue. We got to shout out the show's sponsors. So huge shout out to Organic Price Books for making the Hangout possible each and every week. We've got a video coming up. I think it's actually coming out tomorrow about my top 10 comic book gifts that you could buy for yourself, your spouse, your significant other, or just someone who's into comics from Organic Price Books. And I'll even have a special discount code for you toward those purchases. So that's going to be really fun. But even without that special code, you can always save by using my name at checkout at Organic Price Books. And got to give a huge shout out to the channel family. My man Bunkmaster B, Vire, Danny, Rupert, Kevin. There's other people. Thank you guys for being channel family members who support the content made on this channel. And you are quite literally co-producers of the content with me. As we get ready for a new year, I'm excited about all the dope content coming your way. Ron P says, hey, BJ Kicks in chat. Glad to catch a live. Glad that you could catch it. Ron, that's a camera around your neck in your photo. Maybe. It looks like a Canon camera strap around your neck. I'd like to know what you shoot on. And are you a photographer mainly, or do you shoot video mainly? As much as I hate to say it, I had to drop ASM this year after like 2 issues. I was not feeling it. Sheesh. We're going to get into that. Tim says, hey, what's up, Kicks? What's up, Tim? What spot on the top 10 gifts is a Dennis Cowan remark? Because that should be on there. Yeah, that would definitely be, that'd be top 1 if it was my list. But the list is going to be collected editions. And I'm mainly focusing on collected editions for people who you may be wanting to get into comics. So I wouldn't put like a volume 2 of a run on that list, for example, just as a sneak preview. So before we get into the main topic of the evening, I wanted to go ahead and talk about some books that I read this week. And don't worry, there are no spoilers in the review of the week. I'm going to talk about a couple of books that I picked up yesterday and actually read between yesterday and today and give you just my initial thoughts on them. Um, you know what's funny? I'm going to include this because this is Spawn issue 336. I dropped Spawn at issue 329, I think, maybe 330. Either way, I dropped Spawn recently, and I only picked this issue up because Sanford Green did the cover. Um, and I read the issue, and it confirmed that I just don't need to read Spawn. But I love this cover. So anyway, no rating for that issue. But first book I read, actually, this was the last book I read. This is Batman issue number 130. And it's the end of the failsafe arc. I don't know why I picked this book to talk about because there's not much I can say, except that there's an interesting homage to the Fast and Furious 9, 10, whichever the last one was. But yeah, Batman 130. It ends the failsafe arc in a very interesting way. I'll say that. I really don't want to talk about this issue because I'm gonna spoil it, and I don't want to spoil it for any of you. So I'm gonna put this down. And if you want to get my thoughts on Batman 130, wait until the week Batman 131 comes out, and I'll talk about it on the. Maybe I won't. I usually try to do like reviews on what I'm getting. I don't know. We'll talk about it eventually. Join me in the Discord. How about that? Links in the description. Let's see. What else did I read this week? That might have been the only book from this week's releases that I read. Why do I remember reading something else? Because I did. I read X-Men Red issue number 9. Now, I haven't read Immortal X-Men this week just yet. But, Bunk says, without spoiling, did you like it? What rating would you give it? It's probably an 8. It was pretty good. Definitely a suspenseful ending. There was a very comic book like moment to start the book. And so like yes, I liked it. I feel like in general, superhero comics like don't really get to be inventive, and they don't really get to surprise you because you always have to return to a certain status quo. But there were a lot of moments in the book that were both suspenseful and heartfelt at different times. There's a moment between Batman and Tim Drake Robin that I especially loved. Yeah, all in all, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It was really good. Doug says, Do a Powerbomb had a great finale. I did also read that. We're going to talk about it in a second. So next book I read was X-Men Red, issue number 9. And if you can see on the cover, Abigail Brand is playing a sort of 3D chess with the members of the X-Men and the Sword team. And that's a perfect description of what happens in this issue, or what's been happening for the last like 2 issues. And basically the X-Men played right into their hands, to her hands. And we just got like a straight up action filled issue. I will say this one, because like most of what I know about the X-Men is like the core team, like Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, Rogue, the animated series, basically. This was a little bit out there, but they did a great job, like where it's like you don't have to know a ton about the individual characters because they very much tell you what each person's role in the issue and the overall story is. But this definitely makes me want to like go back and read like some of the Claremont like New Mutants and like Shi'ar. I want to learn more about the Shi'ar Empire. And I feel like that would help me know more about this. But also, I feel like this pays off better for you if you read the Sword series that was coming out during the Dawn of X. I did not read the Sword series, but I feel like I should have, because like this stuff with Abigail Brand, I feel like was probably seated all the way back then. And then I'd probably be a little bit more connected to some of these characters if I had. But still a great story. Still a great story. I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. Although Jay from Real Dope Comics says he's over it. He's over the Krakoa era. So for me, and I'd love to know when you dropped it, because for me, X-Men Red and Immortal X-Men have been the best books of the Krakoa era, um, or at least of this new Krakoa era. Well, no, it's probably the most invested I've been, except like the first story arc of X-Force um, coming out of Hotspots. So let's talk about it. It says, bro, I don't know if you addressed this, but you were running out of space for comics. How in the world did you find space for shoes? I didn't. My office is a mess. Um, I did clean out like the closet in my master bedroom. And it helps that my wife and I have his and hers closets, but I didn't have space for shoes and I didn't anticipate getting so many shoes. That's a whole different hustle. So um, we could talk in the sneaker talk chat on the in the Discord for more details. But the short version is I have a YouTube channel and people send me shoes to talk about on that channel. And I thought it was going to be like 2 or 3 a month. And it's a lot more than that. And I'm kind of over it, if I'm honest. I got 2 feet. I'm walking around barefoot right now. So they're fun to talk about, though. But yeah, and there's one more book that I did want to talk about that I read, and that was or is X-Men Red. The way the issue ends, I can't lie. Like I was kind of up and down throughout the issue. The action was there, the like subverting expectations was there, but I didn't really know much about any of the characters, so it was like hard to really be invested. But then that last page reveal, so I'm excited for issue 10. And then the last book that I read so far was that's not the last book. There's another one I'm going to talk about. I read Do a Power Bomb issue 7, and I can't really talk about it because it's the last issue of the run of the miniseries. But I was just hoping this book would stick the landing, and it did. After the events of issue 5, I was like, well, how are they going to stretch 2 more issues of this series out? But they did. They pulled it off. By they, I mean Daniel Warren Johnson and then Mike Spicer, who does his colors. I believe Russ Wooten's on letters on this series, by the way, even though his name's not up here. But yeah, like the Do a Power Bomb is absolutely like my top mini series of the year. This just confirmed it. It ends in a very sweet way, and that's really all I can say without spoiling anything. And I don't want to spoil anything. So let's get to the last book that I want to talk about. I probably should only pick 2 books to do a review on each week. But hey, what the heck? It's the end of the year. We'll have treats. Last book I read, Miles Morales, Spider-Man #1. Cody Ziegler, Federico Vincentini. This was all right. The art was great. The art was really good. And the story was fine. Right? The story was fine. It's just that I hate to be that guy, but it just feels like they don't know what to do with Miles Morales. Like, and maybe the answer was that he should have just stayed in the Ultimate Universe. I don't know, because I didn't read the Ultimate Spider-Man. So I can't confirm that he was a better character there. But it just feels like they're trying to make him occupy a space that isn't necessarily missing anywhere else. What I do enjoy is that with Miles Morales Spider-Man, you get like teen Spider-Man. Like, I'm gonna show off this page because this art is amazing. But like, so I do like that you get Miles in school having to worry about like his teachers and stuff. And I think there's a lot to say about there's differentiation between himself and Peter, right? Like Miles's family knows he's Spider-Man. Um, and so that offers a different dynamic. He's got people who know who he is. So there's support in ways that isn't support for Peter Parker. And all in all, I feel like Miles' books can be more heartfelt at times. The problem is just like the conflict never really seems like, who's he fighting? What's the threat? And I don't know. It was just like, it was okay. It was okay. So I give it a 7. The art really elevated it. And it's not that the story was bad. It was just like, okay, where is it going? So yeah, that's all I got. One thing I said in the Discord was that Spider-Man's or Miles's teacher, he's got a teacher that reminds me of Furious Styles, who is Lawrence Fishburne's character from Boys in the Hood. Like, that's who I think of when I see this teacher. And it makes me laugh every time he speaks. Even like the stuff he says just sounds like some stuff that Lawrence Fishburne would have said to Cuba Gooding Jr. in Boys in the Hood. But yeah, Bunk wants to know if I'm going to check out more Daniel Warren Johnson after reading Do a Power Bomb. And the answer is yes, I am. I actually started reading Wonder Woman Dead Earth and then got caught up in something else. But I saved that to my favorites. I've heard Beta Ray Bill is really good. I've never read like much Thor, so I don't know if I like should read Beta Ray Bill or if that should be my introduction to Beta Ray Bill. But I've heard it's really good, so that's probably what I'm going to check out after Wonder Woman Dead Earth. But I'm all up for Daniel Warren Johnson recommendations. I heard Murder Falcon is good. I believe that's a DWJ book as well. Let's see. Steven wants to know, are you excited about Static getting a graphic novel where he's grown up? That sounds like I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Milestone 30th Anniversary special, which is coming out next February, so 2 months from now. And in that book, it's an anthology of sorts. And Nicholas Draper Ivey, who was the artist for Static Season 1, and he's the artist for Static Shadows of Dakota, which is also coming up in February. Nick Draper Ivey is writing and drawing a short story that returns to the Batman Beyond universe. It's a Batman Beyond and adult Static team up. And yes, I'm excited about it. So yes, Kevin, I think I tried to answer 2 questions in that one question. Bunk says, you're fine to read Beta Ray Bill blind. It tells you everything you need to know. Okay. Well, that's all I need to know. Clearly. So yeah, I'll probably check that out before Wonder Woman Dead Earth. I don't know. Wonder Woman, I need to like read more Wonder Woman, but like she's never been super interesting to me as a character. Like, yeah. All right. Doug says Murder Falcon, Beta Ray Bill, and Wonder Woman Dead Earth are all great DWJ books. Okay. That's good to know. I'm going to check those out then. Tim says, I skimmed that Spider-Man book at the comic shop and didn't like it. The story felt off. Yeah, it honestly just kind of felt like more of the same. Like when I dropped off Spider-Man or Miles Morales Spider-Man, I started my Spider-Man Miles Morales run with the Clone Saga, issue 25. And I quickly was just like, there were the character voice I wasn't like a super fan of. And I kind of would pop in and out of that run because they would always be really good covers. Torrin Clark was doing covers, so I was still buying it a lot of the time. And it was just like, it was just okay. And honestly, all the Spider-Man books seem to be just okay. What I will say, though, is, again, that this Spider-Man issue had like some of the best Spider-Man art, or this Miles Morales issue had some of the best Spider-Man art. It was really kinetic. Um, I liked it a lot. I liked the art a lot. And again, the story isn't bad. It's just eh. Um, Also, I'm wondering where this is set in the timeline because apparently the Powers Act, the Superhero Powers Act, is still at play, which came out of Daredevil, uh, yeah, the Daredevil and Devil's Reign storyline. But I just assumed with the change in government in New York City that that law would have been off the books by now. So I thought that was interesting. Um, I am curious to see what happens in the next issue. I can't lie. Like this story arc, they introduce a new villain in this book that's got me like, that's cool. But all in all, I just want Miles to be like his own thing, like with his own universe, basically. Jay says Miles has so much potential to be great. Marvel hasn't done a good job at finding writers that are not scared to make Miles his own man. Maybe he should get his own moniker and change in status quo. Yeah, like I don't know what you would call him, right? Like I get why you don't want to just call him Spider-Man, and I also get why you do just want to call him Spider-Man. But the fact is, Peter Parker still exists in New York City, and so does Miles. And you could say that Miles is Brooklyn Spider-Man, but I mean, New York City is not that big. Peter Parker would have covered Brooklyn too. Um, and I know, like on the whatever they do, I just need them to not call him Spin. That's what they call him on that the kids TV show that my daughter watches, and I hate that. Like, Spin is such a terrible name. But I don't know. I guess Black Spider will be too spot on. I don't know what you call Miles. I just I don't know. You got to give him his own thing somehow. And it just all in all, it feel like Miles Morales feels like a book that you read if you're not reading anything else. Like if you're not reading the regular Spider-Man and you just want a Spider-Man book that's kid friendly or that's like not super continuity heavy, then I would absolutely recommend Spider-Man. Or Miles Morales, excuse me. Um I'd get Miles Morales, like if my daughter wanted to read a comic, I'd give her that. Or like if my younger brother, he's like 13, 14, I'd give him that. Um, but other than that, like, I don't know. Ant-Man says, I feel like the game did Miles more justice than the books, honestly. I haven't played the game. I really enjoyed the movie. And I was thinking about this earlier, right? Maybe the Miles movie worked because Miles was in the movie for a very specific reason. And that was like to help old Peter get back to his timeline and all these different things. But yeah, Kevin says the game is dope. Word. I was trying to hold out to get a PS5 and then get the Miles game, but PS5s are still like not available really. I might just buy a PS4. I can go to go to the pawn shop and get a PS4 for like, I don't know, 200 bucks. So I might just do that. I also wanted to hold out and get a PS5 because of the Wolverine game, but I saw a tweet that the Wolverine game isn't coming out until like 2025 at least or something like that. Maybe it was 2024. So yeah. The movie also did a good job. Yeah, I didn't really know much about Miles Morales until the movie came out. Like I knew that he existed because people were always talking about you know, how Donald Glover could play the Black Spider-Man that exists in the comics and no one talks about. But that was all I knew about Miles Morales until the movie came out. Almost missed it. The stream? Nah, you didn't miss it. You didn't miss it. We're still here. Sean says GameStop, PS5s all day. Word. I'll have to travel to my local GameStop. I think there's like 3 in my, yeah, there's one. Anyway, there's 3 GameStops local to me, all within like a 5-mile radius, I'd say. Maybe 7 on the third one. So I'll have to check that out. But yeah, Skip. So we have not gotten to the main topic just yet. But I mean, now's as good a time as any. So for tonight's main event, what I really want to talk about is like what books are not coming with you into the new year. What books did you start off this year like enjoying, and then somewhere on along the line they lost you. So while you guys are letting me know what you dropped, I'll start. I'm gonna go ahead and start. So, like I said, spoilers, or I gave you a little preview earlier. First book I dropped, it wasn't the first book I dropped, but I dropped Spawn. I finally dropped Spawn. And I dropped Spawn mostly because for as long as I've been pulling Spawn, which I think I bought 30 issues of Spawn, which is close to 2 or 3 years of Spawn books. For as long as I had been buying Spawn, I never read it. Like, I might have read 5 out of the 30 issues that I bought. And I would always thumb through it and say, man, this art is really good. I like this page. I like that page. I love this cover. It's only $2.99. And I just was like, you know what? You know what it was, though? There was a very long streak of really, really good Spawn covers. And that streak ended at, I believe it was issue 329. And I can double check that. But I got to the shop and issue 329 had come out, and I wanted the B cover, but my shop didn't have any, and I didn't like the A cover. So I just didn't buy it. And that was the end of my Spawn run. Because I feel like as long as I continued, or as long as I had a good streak going, I wasn't going to drop that book. It took a miracle for me to drop that book. I'm trying to find it on Image, maybe or on League of Comic Geeks. Why are there so many Spawn books? On 296. It definitely wasn't 296. It was like 300 something. But now I can get to the actual series. And then I'll share my screen so we can talk about it. In the meantime, you collect CGCs? I wouldn't say I collect them. Um, every now and then I'll grab one that like means something to me, or like if I get gifted one, right? Like, spoilers for the last video if you didn't watch it. I got this. My man Tim Sheeran, who's here in the chat, sent me this issue, this copy of Hardware #1 in a CGC 9/6 as a bonus in a trade that we did. So it was cool. But yeah, let me share my screen. All right. So we're at Spawn 336 now. The last issue that I bought was 332 because I didn't like the cover for 333. This one. I wanted this one, and they didn't have it. I believe is the one I stopped buying on. Yeah, I have 330. It might be 331. That was the last one. Yeah, I think I wanted this cover, and they didn't have. All they had was this one, and I was like, I'm good. Not a big fan of the video game looking covers, but yeah. The Flex one says, you plan on picking up those reprints of essentially absolutes of Spawn? No, I don't. Um, Spawn is one of those books that looks great, and that's all to me. Like, Todd McFarlane has made it clear that Spawn is going to go on and on and on until he dies. It's not going to end. And like this issue, as an example, 336. And it could be that I just picked a terrible issue to just randomly read, but I just didn't care. There's like these two characters who are supposedly like Cain and Abel, and they're supposedly the first Hellspawn and the first Redeemer, and they're fighting. And then Medieval Spawn comes out of nowhere. And I don't think we get an appearance from Al Simmons Spawn in this book at all. If I remember correctly, there is no Spawn in this issue. Yeah, we got Cygor. We got Overt to Kill. Oh, wait. That's regular Spawn right there. Where did he come from? Yeah, I'm just like, just don't care. That's the issue. When did I start Spawn? I started Spawn with issue 300. Issue 300 came out shortly after I got into comics. And I don't even know if I had a pull list at the time, but I was just enjoying being new to comics and buying cool looking stuff. And Spawn 300 had that ASM 300 homage cover, and I bought that. In fact, I bought like 3 of those. And then I went back and filled in the blanks between issue 300 and issue 296, because 296 is where you get like this history of Spawn. And so it's a great jumping in point. Like, it's literally, if you're going to start reading Spawn, you need to start with issue 1 or issue 296. But like, the issue 300 was like 5 stories in one or something like that. And I didn't particularly care about any of them. They kind of, that issue ends with Spawn like getting some kind of power upgrade, basically, which might mean something to you if you're reading Spawn for the last 300 issues, but it didn't mean much for me because it was my issue 1. But again, I bought it because I was like buying into the hype of Todd McFarlane, like, oh, it's long running independent series and the art's so good. And Todd McFarlane's an entrepreneur. All the reasons I was buying Spawn had nothing to do with the content of the book. And that's when it was like, all right, I should just cut my losses and stop trying to make Spawn a thing. Skip says, my time is limited and there are so many good books out there. If I stop connecting with a book, they're lucky if they get one more issue of my money. Word. I suck at dropping books, if I'm going to be honest with you, because the collector in me doesn't want to like drop a book before the story arc is done. But then it's like, well, if I finish this story arc, then I should just buy the next story arc. And it's weird. And superhero comics are the worst at that, because it's like they don't really change the status quo often. So it's like you're always getting like okay books, and if you're not careful, you'll miss out on the really good books just trying to keep up with the okay stuff. That was the case with me and Do a Power Bomb. I was like, I don't have room for another indie series. I got too much stuff on my list. And then I buy it on a whim on Comixology, and I'm like, yo, this is the best book of the year, easily. But yeah, so I dropped Spawn, and I had been picking up when Spawn's universe started. I started with I think I bought each issue at least. Yeah, I started each issue. King Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn. What's the team one called? The Scorched. And I quickly dropped everything except Gunslinger and main Spawn. And then I dropped mainline Spawn 2-3 months ago. And now the only Spawn book on my list is Gunslinger. And Gunslinger, I just enjoy as a nice, like, one-off book, not a bunch of continuity stuff you got to worry about. It's not convoluted. It's just a fun book. Although I'm behind on that one too, and I probably could drop that. But it's only $2.99 a month. See how I justify things in my head? But yeah, what else? What did you guys drop? The books that I dropped this year. I can't lie, it's not a lot. A lot of the stuff that I had been reading were limited series. So like Um, Blood Syndicate ended. Green Lantern ended. What else ended? All the milestone stuff I was reading, all that is ended, and now we're about to start season 2 in February. And then the stuff that's still ongoing that I dropped, Radiant Black. Radiant Black, I stopped reading mostly because I fell behind, and while I was behind, they just dropped a whole bunch of they expanded outward while I was still trying to catch up, depth wise. So I was just like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna cut my losses. I'm too far behind. I'll just read this in trades. I'll pick it up digitally or something, but I don't need to keep paying $4 a month for this book. And it's like, I'm not reading it. I'm not reading it quickly enough. I enjoyed Radiant Black through the 11 or 12 issues that I read, but I think Radiant Black's on issue 19, 20 now. And in the meantime, they had this whole massive verse thing. They had Rogue Sun and Radiant Red. Radiant Pink came out either this week or last week. Yeah, there's just a bunch of series spinning out of that world, and it was just a lot to try to keep up with on top of the superhero stuff. But I did drop some superhero stuff as well. Real Dope says, Jay says, that's how I am with mini and maxi series. Batman Killing Time was whack in my opinion. I didn't drop it because I didn't want to not collect the whole run. Dog, you know how many books I have sitting in this room that I just collected because I wanted the whole run? Like Batman Catwoman. I stopped reading Batman Catwoman by Tom King after issue 3. Not because it was bad, I just kind of fell behind. And I was like, I could drop it at issue 6, but I didn't. And I kept going all the way through issue 12. And I even got this Batman Catwoman special, which honestly, this one I wanted. And I wanted this because this is pretty much John Paul Leon's last published work. And it's really good. And there's a lot of tributes to him, including one from Milestone co-founder Michael Davis, which is his first words in a DC comic in ages. So this book is special. But yeah. Deflex1 says, is the Priest run for Black Panther the best run? It is the most acclaimed run, and it is the run that changes Black Panther's status quo the most, right? Like Priest run introduces you to the Dora Milaje. It introduces you to a lot of the technology in Wakanda. It introduces you to Agent Ross. So a lot of the stuff that people love about T'Challa from the movies comes directly from the Priest run. And Christopher Priest is also just credited overall with making Black Panther cool, like making him scary and just dope. Like when people claim that T'Challa is Marvel's Batman or a version of Marvel's Batman, it's because of the stuff that Priest did in his run. All that said, of all the Black Panther that I've read, I think I initially enjoyed the Hudlin run most. Like, as far as what's going to just throw you into the action and establish T'Challa as a character and just as far as just fun modern comics, I think Hudlin is a better jumping in point, but Priest changed the game. But honestly, all of Black Panther is important, and there's enough, or there's not so much Black Panther out there that you can't read the whole character. So, and I have my Black Panther by Priest omnibus. It's coming in the mail tomorrow, so that overview will be out Saturday, most likely. But just looking at my shelves, right, there is the Black Panther Early Years omnibus. There's Black Panther by Jack Kirby, which you could read or not read, but you probably should read. And then that's kind of it. There's just Black Panther jumping in and out of other people's books for mad long until 1998 with Priest run. Then after Priest, you get Hudlin. After Hudlin, you get Coates. After Coates, you get John Ridley. And I'm not really enjoying John Ridley's Black Panther like that. So yeah, Priest is probably the best run. Tim says, I'm going to drop Punchline the Gotham game and invest my money for February. Yeah, there's a lot of Spawn, or not Spawn, static incentive variants and stuff coming out in February. So yeah, I got to do the same thing. So other books that I dropped this year, let's talk about them. It was mostly Marvel stuff. But the first one that I remember dropping, pull it up here. I wish they would like sort these by, oh, I can change that. Okay. Let's see. When did this book come out? I'm looking it up now. Okay. So I dropped Moon Knight. Now, Moon Knight, I read basically the first 6 issues. Issue 7 came out in January. I think the first one that I didn't buy, or Moon Knight was a series that I caught up on later and then went in and filled in the issues. And I stopped after this one because I bought this one, the Devil's Reign tie-in. And it wasn't that Moon Knight wasn't good. Moon Knight was good. Moon Knight had like some of the best art in like any comics, but you know, I just felt like I didn't need it month to month. So I was like, I'll just read this in trades. And then I never read it in trades. And I never read it on Marvel Unlimited. So that's how that went. So yeah, I dropped that book. I dropped Hulk. Hulk was a book that I really was excited to get into because I missed out on the Immortal Hulk wave. And when I got into comics, all I really knew about Immortal Hulk was that. Where's the freaking Hulk? Oh, is this it? All I knew about Immortal Hulk was that it was so good that it outsold Batman at a point, which it's more of an indictment on Batman than it is like praise for Hulk. But yeah, so when Donnie Cates started this Hulk run, I was like, all right, cool. It's not going to be Immortal Hulk, but I do get to jump in and read a Hulk book. And let's find the cover A for issue 1. So we can stop like scrolling, making people feel crazy. Where's the cover A? This was it. All right. So Donnie Cates and Ryan Otley on Hulk. Now, this was going to be my first Hulk title, but also my first Donnie Cates book. Like when I got into comics, Absolute Carnage was going on, and Donnie Cates' Venom run was going on. And he was doing Venom and he was doing Thor, and they were like all the rage. Everybody loved these runs by Donnie Cates, and I was just like, I'm in Krakoa right now. I'm not reading this other Marvel stuff. It's too much to get into, but can't lie. I had Donnie Cates envy. I was like, okay, I want to know what this dude's all about. So when they were like, oh, he's going to jump on Hulk, I was like, okay, I'll start reading Hulk then. And dog, this book was just kind of, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this. It was like Hulk is a starship that is flown by Bruce Banner. And it's a very interesting take. Like, what if Bruce Banner is the monster and it's not the Hulk that everybody used to be afraid of? I get it, but it was just a little bit too outlandish for me, and I dropped it. Well, I didn't really drop it. They went into, I went through the first story arc, and then all of a sudden they did the Banners of War event with Hulk and Thor. And that's when I was just like, I don't really care about this Hulk and Thor event. And So I collected the whole Banner of War, of course, because why not collect the whole thing? And then I was like, I just dropped it after that. But now apparently Donnie Cates isn't even writing Hulk anymore. So yeah, yeah. Let's see. Omni Nation, yo, Day Day, what's up, dude? What is going on? I have mixed feeling on his Hulk run. I was not expecting him to go that route. Word. Jay says Cates was such a good writer, but his Hulk run was an amateur compared to Ewing's Immortal Hulk. That body art horror aspect was genius. Word, word. Jay says I'm dropping Venom, Detective, and Hulk when I get to my LCS next week, and Fantastic Four is teetering. So yeah, I dropped Hulk. I did also drop Venom. Venom was another one of those titles that started at the same time as Hulk, because I think it was Al Ewing and Donnie Cates that basically switched books. So I was off the Hulk bandwagon, but I was off the Venom bandwagon even before I was off the Hulk bandwagon. So Venom by Donnie Cates, I read the first volume of in hardcover. Really, really liked it. Like I liked it a lot, but I didn't read past what was that issue? Basically, I didn't read past the Absolute Carnage event. And I've been waiting for the Hulk or the Venom by Donnie Cates omnibus to come out, which that comes out, I want to say next week. It comes out in comic shops, maybe 2 weeks from now. And I'm excited about that. But having read that first volume of Venom, I was like, all right, I got to get into some Donnie Cates. And I want to get into Venom. It's a new Venom book. It should be a good place to start. I knew that, spoiler alert, Dylan Brock was going to be Venom. And I liked Dylan Brock from the first volume of Donnie Cates' Venom. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll check that out. And what it was, though, was Venom was written by Al Ewing and Ram V. And I guess I'll pull it up on the screen. Venom by Ram V was cool. I enjoyed Venom by Ram V. I did not as much enjoy Venom by Al Ewing. It wasn't my thing. It was Venom in space, and like honestly, I couldn't even tell you. All I cared about was Dylan Brock trying to like outrun the government or like these secret agents that were after him and using the Venom symbiote, even though his dad told him not to. I was all invested in that part of the story, but I didn't care about Venom in space. And I felt like each issue that I bought where it was dealing with Eddie Brock, it just felt like a waste of my money. And I was like, well, I can just read this digitally and then read the issues I want to read or not. So I dropped this one. I dropped Venom at what issue was that? 7. I think I bought issue 7 and dropped it at issue 8 because I remember this cover. So yeah, but I was like, you know what? Let me stop buying Venom. And so I stopped buying Venom. Let's see. Hey yo, everyone on this GC is cool. Is that the group? Is that what you mean by that? I think Vanish is the only book he's doing now. Day Day says Kate's new series Vanish is fire though. I'm following that and Berserker, even though I don't like following single issues. Haha. Word. Cates was on a good run too. Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer Black, Thor, Venom, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Hulk was very disappointing. Apparently he's dealing with personal issues. I did see that. But the source that I saw was one of those weird comic book YouTubers that just wants the world to end. So I don't know how true any of it is, but if he is dealing with personal issues and some of the stuff that's been alleged or rumored, then I really do hope he gets well. You don't want to see anybody going through stuff like that. That's real life stuff. And I hate how much comic book media, focuses on like real life things and rags on people and affects real life. Like this, that's whack. But yeah, so I dropped Venom, I dropped Hulk, I dropped Moon Knight, and I what did I drop on the DC side? I don't think I didn't drop any DC books that I can remember. Um, and let's see, I can go to my pull list and see like if I view it by. Let's just go. Let's just look at see what was on my pull list back in August. So back in August, yeah, all this stuff. I bought every last bit of this. I bought all of this stuff. Naomi season 2 was a mini series. It was pretty good. I probably should have dropped Son of Kal-El. I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Nightwing. I didn't hate it though, so I just kept buying it, and I'm gonna keep buying it at this point because there's only one issue left, and then that series becomes something else. This one, X-Men 92, House of 92. 2 issues of this was enough for me. This is like a new X-Men the animated series spin on House of X, Powers of 10, and instead of the world revolving around Moira McTaggart, it apparently revolved around, I think it was Jubilee, and I think that wasn't revealed until the 2nd issue, and that was when I was like, I'm good. I'll read this in trade. Did this series like keep coming out? It went 5 issues. Was that the final issue? This is an Inferno cover. Yeah, this was the last issue. So it only went 5 issues. I was like, I'm good on that. I didn't need it. But again, it seems like all the books that I've been dropping or had been dropping were Marvel books and indie books, which I guess is just because I'm a DC fanboy. Is that what we're calling it? I can browse this by month. So let's do that. Hardware was a miniseries that ended. Jurassic League. I bought Jurassic League #1 and didn't buy any more of that. So there you go. I dropped a DC book. I dropped Radiant Black. I dropped Radiant Red. I dropped The Scorched. 7 Secrets was a limited series that ended. What If Miles Morales? That was a great book, wasn't it? So yeah, man, it's interesting to see like how your pull list changes over time. If you want to sell that Spawn 300 amazing spoof cover, let me know. Yeah, join the Discord, the K Squad on Discord. There's a link in the description of this video and pretty much every video on the channel. So just take a look at one of the recent videos, or I guess I could just put it on the screen. I don't know why I don't think of these things. Give me a second. All right. So if you go to bjkicks.link/discord, I guess I could have made it less easy, right? But if you go there, that'll take you to our Discord group. There's a buy, sell, and trade channel. So join the Discord and just hit me up in the channel. I'm at bjkicks and we'll talk. Oh, you're in the Facebook group. Great. Well, just hit me up there. Either way, whichever one works for me. I'm there. You can just respond to a comment just so I know that it's you. And because I'm pretty sure I have more than one of those. I'm fine parting with one. But yeah, so yeah, it's interesting to see how your pull list changes. So in the month of April, what was on my list? Batman Catwoman, again, series that ended. Gunslinger Spawn is still on the list. Green Lantern ended. Deathstroke I was only buying because of the Shadow War event, and I dropped it after the Shadow War event was over. King Spawn, dropped it. Marauders. Marauders. I dropped Marauders because I just did not like it. after. I didn't like Marauders very much after, what was it? The Hellfire Gala. Like, Marauders was one of my favorite books coming out of the Dawn of X. And it was Kate Pryde or Kitty Pryde on a boat rescuing mutants who were being held captive or couldn't get to Krakoa somehow for whatever reason. Kitty Pryde is murdered by someone, and they seemingly can't resurrect her. They find a way to resurrect her, and she has to get revenge on the person that, caused her untimely demise. All that happened in the previous volume of Marauders, not this one. But after the Hellfire Gala, after she comes back to life or whatever, or gets resurrected, the book was just meandering and getting sucked into a bunch of random X-Men events. And then with this iteration of Marauders, it's like a bunch of Marauders in space type stuff. And I just didn't care about it. I still bought 6 issues of it. But once they finished the first story arc, I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm done with it. Jay says, I didn't know they had a Blade Runner comic. Skip says, I dropped Batman Beyond the White Knight, Human Target, and Blade Runner Origins. I've heard that Human Target is really good. I'm curious to know why you dropped it. I haven't read it. I didn't read Human Target at all. Let's see. Oh, this is December. So let's go back to January. Books that were on my list in January that are no longer on my list. The Amazing Spider-Man Beyond saga. I bought all of that and followed Amazing Spider-Man into a new story arc. Hulk didn't make the cut. Marauders didn't make the cut. King Spawn didn't make the cut. Primordial was a limited series that ended. Miles Morales, I dropped it, but now they got a new volume and I picked up issue number 1. So did I really drop it? Stray Dogs limited series that ended. All right, here's the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because, truth be told, I probably should drop this book. And here's why. So I started this series way back in 2019 with issue 101. This was my first issue of Ninja Turtles. Now, if you have read the IDW Ninja Turtles from the beginning, it's like this super action-packed book and blah, 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 blah. And then you read this issue, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 101 from January 2020. It is such a stark, drastic change in tone. Not a ton of action, a lot of melancholy, and a lot of that has to do with a character, facing an untimely end. And there was just a lot of sulking in this book. And it went from sulking to a little bit of action to like some random adventures to a bunch of like slice of life type stuff. Like you can kind of look at the covers and see exactly where this series has gone over the last 2 years or so. But then right here it picks up again. The issue before, I think this was like, this was like a holiday type issue. I really liked it. This was a silent issue. But then 125 starts like a new action-packed era. And it was pretty cool. But then again, I'm meandering, and I've been jumping in and out of this series ever since issue like 109. I just read like every other issue or I skim through it or whatever, but I keep buying them because I love the covers. Full disclosure, I did buy issue 135, which came out this one. So it's still on my pull list, and we're in the Armageddon game, and they brought back Tom Waltz, who, if you're going to read a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book, you want the writer to be Tom Waltz. Like, And I can't lie, the Armageddon game has brought back the action and stuff. But now they're doing that thing where it's not just the main series, it's the main series and it's the event series, and there's random tie-ins in between. And it's just a few too many. Too many. Isn't that a rap group from the old school? So yeah, I've been buying Ninja Turtles for mad long. But here's where we are now. Now we are at volume 14 of the hardcover, collected up to issue 100. So now we have caught up in hardcover to where my physical collection of Ninja Turtles starts. And volume 15 is going to take us through, I think, 112, 113 ish of Ninja Turtles. And at this point, I'm like, maybe I should just drop it and just read the hardcovers. Like, I don't need to double dip. And if I'm honest, nobody's about to buy these single issues of Ninja Turtles from me. So I probably should just stop buying them. But hey, you never know. Because there might be a really cool cover variant that I end up buying anyway. Let's see. Truth and Faith says, I collect all Eastmans because there's a secret to them not yet revealed. I got that issue. It's Wicked Colors plus Elektra. There's a secret to them. What do you mean? Oh, do you just mean like just the way they reveal the covers? Yeah, you never know what Kevin Eastman is going to do on the covers until they come out, or like very shortly before. So yeah, I enjoy getting the Kevin Eastman variants as well, and that's part of the reason I keep buying these books physically. But they're good. But are they a reason to spend $4 to $8 a month when you know you're not going to read it past that? Here's an interesting cover. It's not by Kevin Eastman. But I mean, here we go. We're 3 issues into the Armageddon game. I've only read one of them. And then you also got this Armageddon game Alliance. There's all these random books. And it's too much to try to keep up with. You know what I didn't talk about? I didn't talk about Gargoyles. But I absolutely read Gargoyles this week too. And I liked it a lot. Yeah, secret covers and a link to Elektra and Punisher. Only Eastman's plus Ronin. Oh, Last Ronin. I got those. It's sweet. I collect for art. I feel you. I mostly collect for art too, which gets me into a lot of trouble because comics almost always have great cover art, especially superhero comics. Skip says, Tom King is why I dropped it. Greg Smallwood and Bunkmaster B is the only reason I bought half of it. Word. I don't know, man. I've seen some reviewers that are like, oh, it's one of the best books of the year. And then there's Skip, who's like, I didn't even want to buy it when I bought it. But I bought it. And I just confirmed to myself that I didn't want to buy it. Gargoyles, that show was ahead of its time. I've been binge watching Gargoyles, or as much as a father of 2 can binge watch anything. Binge watching is saying I watch like 2 episodes at a time for a week. But anyway, I've been binging Gargoyles basically ever since I was like, oh wait, there's a book coming out. Maybe I should get more familiar with this, because I remembered Gargoyles as a kid, but I didn't really remember Gargoyles like that. So I've been binging it, and yes, it's a lot more sophisticated than I remember it being, and I'm falling in love with these characters, and I'm down for it. The Gargoyles book from this week basically is get you caught up between like everything that happened in the series to now. So there's some stuff that like technically is spoilers for the cartoon. So if you're trying to like get started on the cartoon, get through the cartoon and then read the book, which is crazy to even have to say, but Our Burroughs Snake. Tom King is a great writer at destroying character. You know, I've never really read anything Tom King that I like hated. That's a lie. Well, it's not. It's not really a lie. The Tom King, when I got started in Batman, it was Tom King's Batman. And I jumped in at issue 68. Is it 68 or 66? I think it's Batman issue 68. And it's Lois Lane and Catwoman frolicking around in the Fortress of Solitude. And I was like, what the heck am I reading? What is this? Let me sort these. Why is it not letting me sort the book? All right. Batman 2016 to present. And issue, blah, 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 blah. Format. I don't want to select all. Well, whatever. Let's scroll down. Let's find that issue. Which one was it? I can tell you which one it was because I bought a variant cover, and that's how they got me. This is it. This is it. This was my first Batman comic. Like when I started reading comics, I was like, oh snap, this is a cool looking book. And I bought it on the shelf. And it was it's Lois Lane and Catwoman in the Fortress of Solitude. And I was like, what the heck is happening? Oh, my bad. I didn't put it on the screen. So I didn't like hate this issue, but being someone who was like into Batman from the cartoons and stuff, for this to be your first Batman comic is just a super unfortunate, like, because there's like no Batman in this issue. So I stayed out of Batman until a new story arc started, because that's when I learned, like, oh, there's a such thing as story arcs in comics. Didn't know that at this time. And so I started reading Batman again with the beginning of City of Bane. Really cool cover, acetate cover. I liked it a lot. It was cool. And honestly, I didn't hate the City of Bane storyline. What I didn't like about this book during this time was from issue 75 to 85. We got so many different series artists. So one day the book would look like this. And then the next day, the book will look like John Romita Jr. drawing Batman. And I was like, But it wasn't the writing that bothered me. In fact, there was a really, really good issue because, they killed off Alfred in this run. And there was a really good issue that, like, had Batman, like, basically mourning Alfred during the story. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It might have been issue 83, 82. I don't know. And then the Batman Annual 4, might be the best Batman comic, like single issue that I've read since I started reading monthly Batman issues. Like to this day. Really like this book. So like, I feel like Tom King's got moments that are like really, really good. But I think any writer has, bad periods too, I haven't hated anything of King's I've read, actually. Word. Like I said, I haven't hated anything. At the most, or at the worst, I'd say I've been indifferent. Like, because most of the stuff that Tom King writes is characters that I'm not super familiar with, except that he keeps doing these Batman miniseries. But like Strange Adventures, I never read an Adam Strange book before this. Mr. Miracle, I never read a Mr. Miracle book. So it's like, to me, he's got the definitive take on these characters until I read someone else's take. So, I'm either in or not. Woke NATO says City of Bane's way too late to jump in. Half of what goes down in there is direct consequence from the I Am Bane story arc. Yeah, no, I get it, but I mean, it's single issue comics, right? Like, anyone should be able to just kind of walk into a shop and grab a book and like get slowly caught up into what's going on. The City of Bane, I mean, it was enough for me to understand that, hey, for whatever reason, Batman's not in Gotham and Bane's running amok, and Flashpoint Batman's there. So I mean, it was all right. It wasn't like, I didn't feel like I was worse for not reading the run, But I think I'd have a different appreciation of that story arc had I read the run. For sure. For sure. Tim said, I love the Joker War. That was the Batman story, best Batman story I've ever read. Word. I feel you. Joker War was fine. Joker War was going on, and then Three Jokers was going on. I did like the Joker War. I just remember being kind of disappointed by Three Jokers because I bought a whole lot of Three Jokers. That's a whole separate video that's already on the channel. What's coming out this month that I need to buy? DC Vampires 12 later this month. Jon Stewart, the Emerald Knight. That's gonna be dope. More Armageddon game. X-Men Annual. Okay, cool. Anyway, anything else that was on the list in like January, February that I dropped? Should have dropped Spider-Man. I didn't. Dark Ages, I didn't drop. It was a miniseries, but I was just kind of like, Detective Comics, I didn't drop, but I dropped it in my mind. I have not read Detective Comics since shortly after Mariko Tamaki started that weekly event. There's one way to get me out of a comic. It's to put that book out every single week. It's just too much for me to catch up on in one sitting or two. Excellence, unfortunately, has not had an issue come out since issue 12, which sucks because it's a really good series. Hopefully they come back to it very soon, but I don't know what the holdup is on that one. Let's see. Noctera, I dropped, although I think that series just ended. Strange Academy had one series end and a new one begin. I didn't pick up the new series. I dropped Venom. And I think we've gotten to the end of the list of titles that I dropped this year. I'm just double checking now. Yeah, everything else. Oh, Ghost Rider. I picked up issue 1. I didn't pick up anymore. I don't even know if that counts as dropping, honestly. Justice League ended. Sabretooth, I picked up issue 1 and didn't pick up anymore, but that has since ended. Spawn, I dropped. Venom, I dropped. Yeah, that's all I've dropped. So I need to drop. I probably should drop Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I don't know that I have the guts to do it. And yeah, man, that's the end of my list. Ant-Man says, my first issue of Batman was 608. Word. First story of Hush. Hush was my first Batman trade. When I couldn't get into the comics, I started reading the trade, and Hush was the first trade I bought. Kicks, have you read Tomasi and Gleason's Batman and Robin Omnibus? No, I have it on pre-order, though. I probably should just go ahead and read it digitally because I love Damian Wayne, and I've read most of Grant Morrison's run of Batman, which introduces us to Damian Wayne, of course. But I need to finish Morrison's Batman, and then I'll start on Tomasi's Batman and Robin. Ram V's been writing Detective Comics for the last 6 issues. He's telling a noir horror story, and it's dope. I've heard mixed reviews. Like, I've heard it's dope, and I've heard it's like boring. I've only read the first 2 issues of his run so far. Let's see. If anyone here hasn't read Batman Hush, you need to. True. It's really good. Now that I've read more Batman, because Batman Hush was my first Batman story, really. Now that I've read more, it's not like the best story-wise, but the art is amazing. And yeah, but I definitely prefer Long Halloween over Hush, but I do prefer the art in Hush. I dropped Miles Morales, Tim Drake Robin, Batgirls, and I'm only reading the core story of Dark Web. Also dropped Marauders, New Mutants, Knights of X, and Legion of X. I didn't have all those X-Men books on my list, but I did drop Marauders. I didn't pick up Tim Drake Robin or Batgirls, and I didn't really want to read Dark Web, but it kind of snuck up on me, so I bought this variant cover because I liked it. We'll see how the event goes. Kind of feels like you have to read it if you're going to be reading Spider-Man, which sucks, but that's superhero comics for you. So yeah, those are all the books that I dropped this year. But next week, I think we're going to do it next week. Next week, we're going to talk about the books that I feel like were the standouts this year. And thankfully, there were a lot of them. Morrison's my favorite comics writer, but that run is the best Batman and Robin book they've ever done. It's heavy in emotion halfway through as a consequence of what happened in Batman Inc. Word. Any book next to Chip's Batman can seem boring if it's not keeping up with Chip's breakneck pace and fast and furious like action. That's the truth. Yeah, I wouldn't say that Ram V's Detective Comics is bad or anything like that. It's just, like you said, next to the action of the Chip Zdarsky run, it's just going to look pedestrian. And it's kind of like which are you into in the moment? And Chip just hit the ground running, and I just really enjoyed it. And a lot of times when I'm reading Detective Comics, and this started again back during Tom King's run, I was reading Detective Comics because it was more interesting to me than the main Batman title. It's pretty rare that I'm reading both Batman and Detective at the same time, even though I keep them on my pull list. I kind of dip in and out depending on which one I'm enjoying the most. And right now, Chip Zdarsky's Batman just got my attention. But I do plan to read the Ram V. Ram V is telling more of a detective story. It has action, but unravels intrigue to the reader instead of just pummeling the reader. Word. Kind of dropped Carnage, Venom, Ghost Rider, Strange, but I kind of didn't because I got the trades. Yeah, I drop books in my mind all the time. If we talked about books that I just stopped reading, that list would be long. Great thing is most of us don't have to play either or. We can read both. I'm reading both and enjoying Detective more. Word. I need to give Ram V's Detective a better like more attention. That's a cool cover. I don't know who did this cover. Well, this one's good. Ant-Man says, I don't know if Morrison's the best Batman. Snyder might be the best. I think he's talking about Batman and Robin, like the best Batman and Robin pairing. Which, yeah. Detective Comics is an odd recipe. The creative team is A+, but the story is boring. I wonder where Detective Comics fits in the timeline. Does anything fit in the timeline anymore? Does it matter? Right? Like, Batman supposedly like when is Dark Crisis happening? Evan Cagle did that Detective Comics cover you just held up. That's good to know. Thank you. Leaving early, got to be in the morning at 6 a.m. Got to be up in the morning at 6 a.m. Catch you later, Kicks. Appreciate it. I'm about to head out here in a second too. I try to keep these to an hour and a half at the most because that's all my voice can take. It's so weird and awesome to have seen the evolution of Chip Zdarsky from a silly artist on Sex Criminals to this wildly talented writer at whichever publisher he goes to. Word. Yeah, I gave Chip Zdarsky a try because I like his personality in interviews. And so far, I haven't been disappointed. I'm enjoying his Daredevil. I'm enjoying his Batman. I plan on getting Public Domain. And that'll be my first foray into a Chip Zdarsky independent book. And you know what? I might read Howard the Duck over the holiday. I think he only wrote like 15 issues of that. So, yeah. Before I go, my last question I'll answer tonight. What are your top indie comics of 2022? I didn't read a ton of indie comics this year. I started out with a few of them on my list and kind of they dwindled down. But the number one is Do a Power Bomb. I'll get that out of the way. Really enjoyed Do a Power Bomb. Honestly, that might be the one. I kind of dropped everything indie off my list. Somebody have to like help me remember. Let's go back to the pull list and see which indies were on my list. Ninja Turtles doesn't stay up there because I was kind of in and out of that one. Firepower definitely earns a spot on the top indies. Seven Secrets, probably, definitely. And I think Gunslinger Spawn gets the last spot by default because, again, I don't read a ton of indie comics. So I don't even think there were 5 indie comics on my, like, indie titles on my pull list all year. Like, if I deselect DC, deselect Marvel, yeah, you would have to count the milestone stuff, which I don't think that counts. These are basically DC books. They got DC logos on them, so yeah. The yeah, it's Seven Secrets and Firepower. And as a matter of fact, I don't even know if Seven Secrets came out this year. I feel like they were on a pause for a long time and then came back. I did read Power Rangers. I only read 1 issue of that so far. Biggest disappointment of 2022? Probably Hulk. I was really hyped for Hulk, and it just didn't deliver to me. It's between that and Venom, but my hopes weren't as high for Venom as they were for Hulk. Firepower is so much fun. Can't wait for Volume 2 hardcover. Agreed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's just gentlemen here, but ladies on the replay, I guess. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me for another hour and 23 minutes of the Hangout. Huge thanks to the channel family who makes these videos possible. And another huge shout out to Organic Price Books, best place to look for collected editions. I appreciate it all. Mission in comic life is to get kicks more into indies and up that quality bar. Yeah, man, we'll talk about the lackluster nature of superhero comics. Maybe we'll do that on the Comics Are Dope podcast, which is coming in 2023. But until then, hope you saw something you liked in this video. And if not, hey, that's cool. Because you can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy and be nice to others. Because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.